Welcome back to The Explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder what exactly makes the digital age tick? We surround ourselves with these incredible smartphones, massive memory chips, and blindingly fast computers. But beneath the sleek screens and all that software lies a literal universe of microscopic machinery. So today, we are going to explore the tiny, invisible engine that quite literally powers our modern world. To get us started, I want to hook you by posing a rather grand question. What is the fundamental building block of modern VLSI technology? Now, VLSI stands for Very Large Scale Integration. It's basically the process of creating integrated circuits by cramming thousands or even millions of transistors onto a single chip. But what exactly is that single repeating unit? What is the core mechanism making all this insane computing power possible? Okay, let's dive into this. The answer to that million-dollar question is the MOSFET. Yes, it stands for Metal Oxide Semiconductor Field Effect Transistor. I know, it sounds like a mouthful, but at its core, it is simply a voltage-controlled semiconductor device. Think of it as a microscopic valve or a switch. By applying a very specific voltage, engineers use the MOSFET for switching currents on and off, amplifying signals, and processing digital information within these incredibly complex integrated circuit designs. Now here's our cognitive roadmap for today, so you know exactly where we're headed. First, we'll meet the MOSFET. Then, we'll zoom in on its anatomy and main types. Next, we'll look at how the magic actually works, followed by a breakdown of its operating regions and equations. After that, we'll pit it against older transistor technology, and finally, we'll zoom way back out to see how it acts as the backbone of modern electronics. All right, Section 1, meet the MOSFET. Let's briefly establish exactly why this little device is so incredibly revolutionary. The whole reason the MOSFET matters comes down to a few really critical factors. Sure, it features extremely high switching speeds alongside an incredibly compact size, but the absolute game changers here, high input impedance and low power consumption. These two factors are the exact reasons why engineers can pack millions, sometimes literally billions, of these microscopic switches into memory chips and microprocessors without them failing. Honestly, if they consumed more power, your devices would literally melt from the heat. Your pocket would be a very uncomfortable place. So, what does this tiny switch actually look like? Let's transition right into Section 2, Anatomy and Main Types, and zoom in on the physical structure of this engine. Taking a look here, you're seeing the foundational architecture of the device. We have a source, a drain, a gate, and a substrate, which is sometimes called the body. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the oxide layer sitting right beneath the metal gate. This thin little layer is absolutely crucial. It acts as a perfect insulator, meaning the metal gate is physically separated from the semiconductor material right below it. Let's quickly translate that jargon and break it down into 4 key construction layers. We start with the metal gate up top, followed by that insulating oxide layer, and beneath that is the semiconductor substrate, which houses the source and the drain. The whole goal of this setup is incredibly simple. We want current to flow from the source over to the drain. But, and this is a big but, that flow only happens when the gate above gives the command. Now, when engineers actually built these, they have 2 main operating modes to choose from based on their circuit design needs: enhancement mode and depletion mode. An enhancement MOSFET is normally off. It acts kind of like a closed door. Current only flows when you actively apply a voltage to the gate. On the flip side, a depletion MOSFET is normally on. The door is already wide open, and current just flows freely even without gate voltage, right up until you apply a voltage to slam it shut. Beyond just those operating modes, MOSFETs are categorized by the physical type of channel that forms between the source and drain. So here we have NMOS, or N-channel, and PMOS, or P-channel devices. Notice the circuit symbols for a second. The arrow's direction is the key takeaway. In an NMOS symbol, the arrow points inward, while in a PMOS symbol, it points outward. This visually dictates the flow and firmly establishes the dichotomy between the 2 physical channel types. Okay, moving into Section 3, how the magic works. Let's see how these physical layers actually interact in the real world. So, when a voltage is applied to the gate, it creates an electric field. And remember that crucial oxide insulation we saw earlier? Because of that, no direct current actually flows into the gate itself. Instead, the electric field reaches down through the oxide and pulls together, or accumulates, charges in the substrate below. This accumulation forms a channel, literally a microscopic bridge, that suddenly allows current to just rush from the drain over to the source. Now, the type of charges forming that channel is where NMOS and PMOS differ fundamentally. NMOS operates by accumulating electrons to form its channel.
PMOS operates in the exact opposite way, relying on the absence of electrons, what physicists surprisingly just call holes, to form the channel. And here's a cool fact. Because electrons are lighter and move much faster than these holes, NMOS devices inherently offer much faster switching speeds than their PMOS counterparts.
Which brings us to Section 4, Operating Regions and Equations. Now, I know bringing up math can seem a little daunting, but I promise you, these equations simply and beautifully describe the different states of our tiny engine. Logically, you can think of the MOSFET as operating in 3 distinct regions, kind of like shifting gears in a car. Step 1 is the cutoff region. The device is completely off. No current flows at all. Step 2 is the triode region. Here, the channel has formed and the device basically acts like a variable resistor. Step 3 is the saturation region. The current hits its peak and just remains constant, fully blasting and allowing the device to act as a powerful amplifier. These are the mathematical models for those 3 regions for both NMOS and PMOS. Now, don't worry about memorizing every single variable right now. So the crucial point is this specific variable right here, V sub TH, or the threshold voltage. These formulas simply prove that crossing this specific voltage threshold is the key to unlocking the device. If the gate voltage is less than the threshold, the current is exactly 0. But once you cross it, you unlock the triode and saturation states, which dictate exactly how much current flows. And energetically mapping those equations out gives us a really beautiful visual of the device basically waking up. The transfer characteristics curve perfectly maps what we just talked about. Notice how the line stays completely flat at 0 until it hits VT, the threshold voltage, then boom, it rockets upward. And the output characteristics map that leap from the triode region over into the flat, stable saturation region as the voltage increases. It is just a brilliant visual representation of crossing that threshold. All right, let's zoom back out slightly for Section 5, MOSFET versus BJT, to see how our device compares against older tech. Because, before MOSFETs completely took over, the bipolar junction transistor, or BJT, was incredibly common. As this comparison outlines, the BJT is controlled by current, it has low input impedance, and it consumes high power. The MOSFET, however, is controlled purely by voltage, has high input impedance, and consumes drastically less power. Because MOSFETs run cool and don't drain massive amounts of current just to hold their state, they became the undisputed kings of very large-scale integration. You literally couldn't build a modern computer chip out of BJTs. It would be way too big, too hot, and way too power-hungry. And that brings us to our final section, the backbone of modern electronics. Let's zoom all the way out to the macro level and see the massive impact of this tiny device. Today, MOSFETs are everywhere. They are the absolute essential ingredient in your microprocessors, memory chips, and digital logic gates. They're also used in analog electronics like oscillators and power electronics like motor drivers. And this brilliantly illustrates why this matters to you. It's the low-power, compact size of the MOSFET, particularly when NMOS and PMOS are paired together in what's called CMOS technology, that allows your smartphone to run complex logic gates all day long without needing a literal car battery attached to it. As the source material so perfectly states, MOSFET is the backbone of modern integrated circuit design. It is almost impossible to overstate the importance of this specific micromachine. It is the silent, switching workhorse that powers the entirety of our digital world. Just think about the device you are using to watch this explainer right now. There are millions, perhaps billions, of these microscopic engines firing away inside it at this very second, translating electric fields into the video and audio you're experiencing. As chips get smaller and smaller, the physical limits of the MOSFET are constantly being tested. So I leave you with this. What barriers will vlsi engineers push the MOSFET past next? I hope this explainer gave you a deep appreciation for the tiny transistor that changed the world. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thanks for watching.